Fourthly, if the church has bells, it is asked, why may it not have organs? They are both instruments of sound which serve an ecclesiastical purpose. The answer is so obvious that one feels almost ashamed to give it. The bell is not directly connected with worship. The organ is. The bell stops ringing before the worship begins. The organ accompanies the worship itself. There is not the least likeness between them so far as this question is concerned. A bell simply marks the time for assembling. So does a clock. And we may as well institute a comparison between the hands of the clock at a certain hour and instrumental music in worship after that hour as between the sound of the bell and it. The question is in regard to a concomitant of worship, not as to something that precedes it and gives way to it. Fifthly, it is by some gravely contended that if tuning forks and pitch pipes may be used, so may organs. The same answer was returned to the immediate foregoing argument is pertinent here. Did those who submit this argument ever notice the use made of a tuning fork or a pitch pipe by a leader of singing? It is struck or sounded in a way to be heard by the leader himself, and when, by means of it, he has got the pitch of the tune to be sung, it is put into his pocket, where it snugly and silently rests while the singing proceeds. It no more accompanies the worship than does a bell. Like it, it stops sounding before the act of worship begins. What analogy is there between it and an instrument that accompanies every note of the singing by a corresponding note of its own? Assign to the organ the same office as the humbler tuning fork or pitch pipe, namely, merely to give the leader of the simple singing the pitch of the tunes. And who would object to it? The question of organs would be as quiet as they would be. One toot before the singing, and then they would be what they ought to be during the public singing of praise, as silent as the grave. One cannot help wondering that the admirers of this, quote, majestic instrument, unquote, would employ a comparison which reduces it to a pitch so low. Sixthly, there is only one other argument of this minute class which will be considered. It is one which I have known some brethren to maintain as men do a last redoubt. It is argued that instrumental music is just as fairly entitled to rank among the circumstances indicated by the confession of faith as is a tune book. Does a tune book assist the singing of praise? So does an organ. If the church has discretion in employing one kind of assistance to singing, why not another? Has it not occurred to the minds of those who insist so strenuously upon this view that they may be using a tune book to accomplish an office to which it may be inadequate, when they wield it to knock down arguments derived from the Old Testament and the New Testament Scriptures, from the Old Dispensation and the New, from the practice of the Jewish synagogue of the apostles, of the whole Church for 1,200 years, and of the Calvinistic Reformed Church for centuries? Does it not occur to them also that there may be a flaw in the statement of their argument? Expanded, it is this: whatever assists the singing of praise is a legitimate circumstance. The tune book and the organ alike assist, etc. Therefore, they are alike legitimate circumstances. The true statement would be, whatever is necessary to the singing of praise is a legitimate circumstance. The tune book and the organ are alike so necessary. Therefore, they are alike legitimate circumstances. It behooves them to show that the organ is necessary to the singing of praise. It is not enough to say that it assists it. They cannot prove its necessity. Praise has been and is sung without the organ. But it also behooves me to show that the tune book is necessary to the singing of praise, that it is a condition without which it could not be done. If this can be evinced, as the organ is not necessary to singing, it does not, as is assumed, stand on the same foot with the tune book, and the argument is unfounded. It will be granted that a tune is necessary to modulated singing, that is, to singing which is not merely the prolongation of a single note, and that could not be denominated singing. But the tune book gives the tune. The tune is necessary to singing. The tune book is necessary to the tune, therefore the tune book is necessary to singing. Need this simple argument be pressed? Whence the tune, if not from the tune book? Is it improvised by the leading singer? Suppose that it may be, and he would be the only singer. It would be impossible for others to unite with him. It may be replied that the organ also gives the tune. This is a mistake. The organ is as much indebted to the tune book for the tune as is a leading singer. If the organist should improvise the tune, where would be the singing? It will hardly be contended that a solo on the organ would be the singing of the congregation, or that the organ sings at all. It may be said that the tune book is not necessary to singing, since it is a fact that singing is often done without it. This is a mistake also. The tune book may be absent as a book, but the tune it contains is present in the mind of the leading singer. He remembers what he got it from. It is a necessity to him, whether literally absent or present. He cannot sing without the tune, and the tune is in the tune book. Finally, the mighty contest may be yet maintained on the ground that some leading singers do not know the musical notes and therefore cannot depend on the tune book for the tune. True, there are some who are ignorant of the notes, but all the same, they depend on the tune book, not immediately, but mediately and really, for the tune is learned, in the first instance, only from someone who does know the notes and got the tune from the book. The tune book is the first cause of the tune, and is necessary to its existence. Of course, tunes are learned by the ear. Most members of a congregation so learn them. But these persons acquire them from the leading singer, and he received them from the tune book. So that, look at the matter as we may, the tune book is necessary to the singing of praise. It conditions its performance. If now it be objected that the tune book is a circumstance not common to human actions and societies, and is equally with instrumental music, according to this argument, excluded from the discretionary control of the Church, I answer, that is true. It is circumstances in the natural sphere, those which attend actions as actions, and not this or that particular action of a distinctive society that fall within the discretion of the Church. Consequently, both of these circumstances, the tune book and instrumental music, fall without that discretion. They both condition the performance of an act peculiar to the Church. But the difference between them is this. One is necessary to the performance of a commanded duty, namely, the singing of praise, and the other is not. The singing of praise is undoubtedly a commanded duty, and it follows that what is a necessary condition of its discharge, and it follows that what is a necessary condition of its discharge comes also under the scope of the command. It is, therefore, not discretionary with the Church to employ it. It is obligatory. It must be employed, or the commanded duty fails to be done. It is not so with instrumental music. It is not a condition necessary to the commanded duty of singing praise, neither is it a natural circumstance conditioning the acts of all societies. It is, therefore, neither obligatory upon nor discretionary with the Church to use it. It is, consequently, excluded.